I was responding to some comments at the video, How Did Portugal and Spain Plan to Conquer the World? By, I forgot, I think it was it a historian? No, it's not a historian. Nalegia, I think it's called Nalegia. And their fan base is extremely retarded because they act like middle schoolers who think they know what they're talking about, but they almost never do. So here's an example of someone who is not very smart, and here goes. Bro, by the time Spain was taking over the Inca and Aztec, look how he spells Inca. Right off the bat, you have a red flag that he doesn't know anything about the Incas. Continue. And Aztec Empire, mainly through unintentional spread of diseases, more on that later. Portugal was facing Ottomans and Indian kingdoms. Chill out. There's a reason never got Portugal militarily, and luckily got a personal union that they managed to fuck up decades later. Portugal finished its Reconquista earlier because it had less to conquer. Consult a map and compare the southernmost part of Spain versus Portugal. The Spanish south is also wider, meaning more work to be done. So don't boast in their having been earlier to explore more. What they did explore was explored by others before them. Lame. I planned a video on their so-called discoveries and overrated discoveries. They're extremely overrated, but not as much as the British. As you may already know, I did a series proving that the British Empire wasn't the biggest. And I did touch on the Portuguese on that in that video series. So, where was I? The Vikings never explored the Caribbean and most of what Spain would discover. The reason Portugal exists is so that the synagogue of Satan can keep Spain in check more easily, which is also why Ukraine exists, etc. That's also why Ireland still has some freedom, and why the US has been letting China get more powerful. You know nothing. And I proved this. It's not just a theory of conspiracy, it's a fact of conspiracy. I proved it in the aforementioned series on the overrated British Empire. Now, as to why I'm wearing a hat, it's not just because I'm bald, because I want to start over and feel fresh in life, right? Like a type of reborn purification ritual that Egyptian pagans did and that the Bible says you shouldn't do. If you're an ancient Jew, which I'm not, but it's because there's a kind of glare and I want to make my eyes not have to, I don't want to tax my eyes too much because it's late. It's 7:30 a.m. I'm considering going to sleep. I'm considering it. But you know what? It's still early in Spain, isn't it? Because let me see the time here. Sunday, 15 January 2023, Gregorian calendar. In Jerusalem, it's 2:30 a.m., so it's midnight there, pretty much. And in Toledo, it's 12:30 a.m., so it's only midnight in my ancestral homeland. And that means it's not too late for an adult like me to stay up. Anyway, dad joke aside, moving on. Oh, look, he edited his comment. That's a sign that he's frustrated because he typed so fast he made mistakes, or he posted it without finishing his thoughts. He couldn't get them all together because of his emotions. In the past, I've done that when I got pissed at people, but usually I avoid doing that. Because, you know, emotions do get in the way of logic sometimes. They can cloud your judgment. So I try to not do that. But, you know, it's human to be emotional, and if you have no emotions, then you're not human. And if your emotions are in line with logic, then that's good, as long as you are in line with logic and reality. So, you really are that deluded, laughing my ass off. I like how you mentioned Spain had a wider area to conquer, but let out how they also had more population and resources to kinda equate. Well, you'll see my response. Also, conveniently, you leave out that Spain did try to subjugate Portugal a couple times and failed. Funny how Ireland is better now than ever. I would say it's actually more likely for Northern Ireland to become part of the Republic of Ireland than for Ireland to lose its freedom. Whatever you meant by that. Obviously, freedom from being dominated by the English more than they already are, using English instead of their native language, which isn't even their native language because most of them don't know it, but I plan to learn Irish. It's the most beautiful language after Arabic from what I gather at the moment. So they say, the US is kind of late on handling China, but it's had decades to handle China. Anyway, even though China can unhandle themselves historically, like LOL, like we are seeing recently, nothing like some anti-Chinese propaganda in an argument about Portugal versus Spain. Nothing like just showing how you succumb to the modern Western propaganda against China. You know what, China? It's bad, obviously. It's an atheist shithole, what do you expect? But you're just showing that you're regurgitating what the mainstream tells you to believe, which shows how non-free thinker you are. Continue. Guy, although they are leagues below in military still, you seem very emotionally driven though. Wow, so lazy, can't finish writing the word though, even though he does here. Anyway, I like that you edited your comment in frustration, you emotionally driven hypocrite. Telling me that I'm emotionally driven. But look at this, because of his emotions. Nice Portuguese name you got there, Andrew. Like, is he that enamored with a British that he prefers using an English name over a Portuguese name? I think it's highly unlikely that it's not Portuguese, because who besides the Portuguese would be as adamant about defending the reputation of Portugal than a Portuguese native or a Brazilian who believes they're Portuguese when they're like half Portuguese. Anyway. So I like how you left out that Aragon was focused on eastern lands, so it was much more than just Iberia being conquered. Aragon got all the way to Greece. Greece was very much divided at the time between the Ottomans and Europeans, like the Venetians. Spain got a slice of that pie. So I love Greece. I like Greece geographically more than Spain because it's more interesting geographically. Spain is like a blob, but Greece is way more intricate. Of course, if you look at the mountains and rivers of Spain, it's less blobby, but it's primarily just river after river after river after river, punctuated by mountains. And by punctuated, I mean dot 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 dot, long punctuations, not little ones. Where was I? Also, I think the weather, the climate in Spain varies more than in Greece, I think. Unless you count, because Spain actually has a desert. It's like the only desert in Europe, I think, which is awesome because I like deserts. I want to go to desert because I hate humidity. Why did I move to this place? Because of circumstances. I moved to a country where the Portuguese discovered, but here's a spoiler from the video that I plan to do on the overrated discoveries of Portugal. Marco Polo was in China, and guess what? The Chinese knew about Cambodia. They had a long history of relations with them, and guess what? Marco Polo indirectly knew about Cambodia. So, no, the Portuguese weren't the first to discover Cambodia. They were the first to pass by, I guess, but among the Europeans. So there's that. But you know what? The glory of Portugal is my glory too, because I'm Iberian of the original stock. So whatever they did good, that's my glory. Thank God. Woohoo. So where was I? So again, he pretends Spain, or what would become Spain, Castilla and Aragon, he pretends they were focused only on the south, on invading south, but Aragon was primarily east, while Castilla was primarily south, which is why Castilla got way more of the south than Aragon. Not to mention, well, I don't want to digress too much. I like how you omit the fact that the English Crusaders dropped by to conquer Lisboa for you. The boyfriend had to help his girlfriend, whom he would abuse later with the African ultimatum, telling her to get the fuck out, Portugal. I don't like saying the word fuck, but I'm pretending to be a drunk, racist British pirate, and they would say the word fuck. So, yeah. And I originally laughed out loud when I typed that. But look how the Portuguese still cling to the racist pirates who trampled on them. No self-respect despite a huge ego. How ironic. That's Lose-itanians for you. Ha 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 ha. Also, conveniently, you leave out that Spain did try to win, but failed. I thought I pointed out that both countries were in our Templar run, or at least I alluded to that. So any war's outcome between them would have been predetermined by the shadow government, which is run by Jews who worship Satan, as I proved in my aforementioned series on the British, and as I also proved in my series, Islam was invented by Jews, and as I probably proved elsewhere. How YouTube allows me on is because I'm so obscure that I'm not even on the radar. I know you like your PG Disney-esque version of history, gullible child, but I proved what I said in that series. I demonstrated there the superiority of the Spanish Empire's size plus morality. Not that it was good, all empires were and are evil, but none as evil as the British except the American offshoot thereof, which, by the way, committed a genocide in Samar of the Philippines as payback for something the Philippines did against the gringos, the Americans. They targeted and planned to kill every male, 10 years and older I think it was, in that island. That's a huge amount of people. And many of them innocents, of course. What did they have to do with it? So concerning Ireland, which he says is better now than ever because he doesn't know anything. Ireland doesn't know how many genders there are. They're drunkards. They value English more than their own language. Have a very divided island, and they import Islam, you were saying. Now let me educate you further. Fun fact. The ones who invented the caravel were Italians. It wasn't a coincidence that after Princess Henrietta, the non-navigatrix, hired Italian experts to teach Portuguese losers how to be winners at sea, that the caravella was created. Spaniards always thank Colón. We aren't ingrate, or Colombo. We aren't ingrates like the conceited girlfriends of the racist pirates. Your turn, loser. Now, generally it's not good for a Christian to call someone a loser, but you know what? In a public debate, when the person is belittling your people, then why not point out that in the debate, they lost the debates. And why do you call someone who loses the debate they're a loser? I say it calmly, he's a loser. Loser, 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 loser. You're a loser. And, calling a spade isn't necessarily wrong just because it's going to hurt the feelings of a liar. Jesus called liars what they were all the time. He hurt their feelings all the time. I'm not trying to hurt his feelings, or I would say things like, you piece of beep. But I don't. I just call him very calmly, in this debate, you're a loser. Because, look at this, man. You got whooped. I'm not the only one who can see this. And anyone can do what I did. It takes basic knowledge. Just go to Wikipedia, find out that Italians were hired by that guy, connect the two dots. It doesn't take a genius to figure that out. I'm not boasting. So as for mainly through an unintentional spread of diseases, so he's saying the Spanish didn't win, the virus won. So he's saying the Spanish are losers who need a disease to win. That's what he's saying. Read between the lines, or between the words in this case. No. Again, you broadcast how little you know. 1 minute left. If smallpox were as important a factor as you make it out to be in your regurgitation of anti-Spanish propaganda, then Hernan Cortés could not have conquered the Aztec Empire, for the key to his success was not just the key of greater technology, which was crucial, but the other one of many Native American allies who hated the Aztecs and preferred the Spanish. Just as the Spanish were preferred by native Seminoles fleeing the British to the sanctuary of Spanish Florida, just as the Spanish were preferred by Africans fleeing the British to the sanctuary of Spanish Florida. Do you see a pattern here? How could those natives have been able to stand up, let alone fight, against the Aztecs, let alone win the war, if they were crippled and dying from smallpox? You don't question what you're taught. Your mind is weak. So let's title this one like the other one, which was Spaniard puts an Englishman in his place. This one I should title Spaniard puts Portuguese in his place. Adios. And how do you say it in Portuguese? I plan to learn Portuguese later. Anyway, bye.